Hello! Season 2 of Poker Face has come to an end, revealing a fascinating new baddie. In this video, I'll look back into how the season set up the mysterious Iguana character, and it's safe to say that if you haven't watched it to the very end, you will be spoiled. So if you haven't, go watch the whole thing and come back. Alright, for the next few minutes, I will overanalyze a piece of pop culture that probably only needs to be enjoyed rather than analyzed. You have been warned. Poker Face upended Charlie's life once again by revealing that her new friend Alex was in fact the Iguana, the world's best assassin that was able to fool Charlie's bullshit detector, work to build a relationship with Charlie in order to use her to get with mobster Beatrix Hasp, and also as a personal challenge because she was bored. Charlie is put through the ringer both physically and emotionally and goes back on the run at the end of the season. But how did we get there? Firstly, throughout the season we get some breadcrumbs as to how Charlie's magical human detector abilities aren't foolproof. In the very first episode, The Game is Afoot, we see the first indication when Amber, the murderous quintuplet that has killed the fifth sister Felicity in order to impersonate her and get their mother's inheritance, is able to put on a performance as Felicity and fool Charlie. She uses her words carefully, but also she's able to inhabit the character of Felicity so much that she believes it to be her. Charlie needs to resort to some traditional detective work in order to solve the murder, but the seedling of doubt for the audience has been planted. Then, the second indication, in episode 8, is when we meet Guy, the conman. He's delighted to meet Charlie as he considers all the grafting opportunities her gift presents. Guy, seen here marking some Uno cards, proposed that under the right circumstances, Charlie could be fooled. Charlie considered that yes, theoretically, the world's greatest sociopath could trick her. She doesn't really believe it though, especially because Guy is such a jerk, but we, the audience, get another hint. Enter Alex the Iguana in episode 9. Let's look into that first tantalizing scene. Alex approaches Charlie to give her a beverage that she claims to be black coffee, which she only has because the coffee shop made an extra black coffee by accident. She says she wants to give it to Charlie because Charlie looks sad sitting in front of her laptop. The drink turns out to be a concoction that tastes like a candle, but Charlie is unable to see through the very many lies. In fact, we would all be very suspicious if a stranger approached us to give us a certain drink as an act of kindness, and then the drink turned out not to be what they claimed it was. Let's face it, even if a coffee shop made an extra drink by accident, which is plausible, under which circumstance would they not realize and not inform the client that it was a highly complicated drink rather than a black coffee? The only reason why this conversation is not an immediate red flag is because Charlie is thus far an unerring lie detector, so we have to take it at face value given the lack of additional information. And let's all note at this juncture the sadism of the Iguana. She made Charlie taste the most revolting thing on the menu, and she called her sad. Of course, that last bit, the total honesty, would be part of the Iguana strategy. She needs to pretend to be someone that never lies. And there's two elements in that. First, she thinks Charlie will appreciate someone that never lies to her. And second, she will not have to turn on and off whatever psychopath juju she's pulling in order to fool Charlie, just to sprinkle in a few white lies. Their second interaction at the next episode is equally suspicious. For starters, we see Alex asking for a butter popcorn latte. Alex is making googly eyes to Charlie, who has just treated her to the popcorn concoction, and manages to get Charlie to agree to go with her to the murder gym. If I may offer my personal interpretation of Charlie's bewilderment in both cases, it could be seen as Charlie not getting the kind of reads he gets from normal, non-psycho humans, and thus being unable to process Alex's, at that point, seemingly innocent approaches. We then have Alex spend the entire episode desperately trying to be Charlie's friend, but secretly playing Charlie like a fiddle. On the one hand, she wants to solve the murder, but acts very amateurish with wild theories, missing clues and making reckless moves, indicating to Charlie that she would put herself in danger in the process of solving the mystery, which causes Charlie to want to protect her. And on the other hand, she keeps flattering Charlie about her gift and how they can use it to solve the mystery. The fact that Alex comes through for Charlie, saving her life, seems to completely evaporate all the resistance that Charlie has been showing through the episode. Alex then presents Charlie with her credo of only telling the truth, and in fact that's built through scenes in 2 episodes. In episode 9, with the coffee, she appears to be upset about the possibility of having lied to Charlie about the beverage not being a black coffee. And in episode 10, when Brick catches them searching his office and asks them what they're doing, she blurts out that they're searching his office. Her total honesty means that she doesn't have any friends, which explains her desperation to find a new friend in Charlie and makes Charlie feel good about saving her from the silent killer of our time, loneliness. By episode 11, the wedding episode, Charlie and Alex are fast friends. The key to this friendship is Alex always presenting herself as someone silly, flirting with their wedding guests, buying hats while they're fleeing assassins. I'll touch more on that hat at the end. She constantly needs to be helped and always flatters Charlie in the process. This goes all the way to the big reveal in episode 12. It's not hard to see why Charlie, starved for a lasting human connection, would fall for it, regardless of the psycho manipulation. The big question is, should we, the audience, fall for it? Well, yes and no. Yes, Alex is very convincing. She's always in character, even when you think she needn't be. Like when she cries murder at the wedding reception. But most of that can also be explained as she can't really risk anyone, Charlie or the assassin, suspecting that she's not who she pretends to be. But also, I think the show actually wants us to suspect her, or at least it does enough work for it not to be a complete surprise. There's the first awkward encounter that we've analysed already. There's the song Warning, playing as the big pump finishes, and we see Charlie discussing with Alex in the coffee shop about her past. There's the famous 2 truths and a lie scene. We know now that Alex gives Charlie 3 lies, but also that third lie, the cinnamon allergy, is almost begging the audience to think twice. Because it's very memorable and very easy to keep an eye out for. Cinnamon is a common ingredient, and someone with a death allergy to it would have to be very careful in everyday life. It feels like a wink and an invitation to the audience to do some sleuthing of our own. Fourthly, and you have to humor me on this one, it's the Jackal-Iguana connection. The title of the penultimate episode is The Day of the Iguana, modelled after the Day of the Jackal. Nothing to see here, you'll say. It's a wordplay, referring to the thriller Day of the Jackal. The Jackal is an assassin, just as the Iguana is an assassin, no big deal. But also, the Jackal was the name of the con person in the old Dirty Rotten Scoundrels film, where we, the audience, thought that the Jackal was Steve Martin. But it turned out that the Jackal was the supposed innocent woman they were trying to con. Why do you keep going on about this, you'll ask? Well, Poker Face has actually mentioned Dirty Rotten Scoundrels before, in episode 1, when movie buff Charlie likened one of the quintuplets to a dirty rotten scoundrel. Coincidence or clever wink? Then there's the whole wedding episode setup. It is way too big a coincidence that Alex picks the wedding of the estranged son of Hasp to start her oyster business. It would only work if somebody else was influencing Alex, knowing that she's a friend of Charlie. But that requires an even bigger leap of faith from the audience. Finally, in the last episode, there is some overt signposting as the manipulation of Alex becomes more obvious. Like in this scene where the camera zooms into Alex just as Charlie says,
I mean, if this iguana guy is following us...
Now, they may not have fooled us, but was it actually believable? Well, you know, it is fiction. For a show that was, with the exception of some silliness, mostly rooted in reality, it does require a certain suspension of disbelief. For instance, the patsy scheme of the iguana. All the bits fit in well, but it is a bit of a long shot that the second assassin would indeed pick Alex as the patsy in the first place, or that Charlie would immediately go, let's do a 10-hour drive to Indiana to see Hasp in order to save Alex. Or surely, even the world's best assassin would take more than 90 seconds to silently murder 3 agents and a mobster, all in different locations, and change her outfit. And I think the show knows about it, and tries to subvert it by showing the iguana having almost superhuman assassin powers in that Alaska panic room assassination backstory. I, for one, am happy to buy it. Now, there's the good baddie loose end. I'm sticking by my guns that good baddie will not be an accomplice of the iguana. The timeline doesn't really fit. Rian Johnson has said that they wanted to work with Steve Buscemi, but that the scheduling didn't work, so they just got his voice. It also works nicely as a red herring, and a convenient plot facilitator with his New York flat. One last point before I wrap up. Can we talk about how much work this wonderful prop does in this episode? It is a good joke that adds color. A place in Indiana with a gorge decided to name it the Grand Canyon Canyon to get some attention and tourist footfall. It highlights how silly Alex is, buying hats and chatting with cashiers, just as they are running for their lives. either to fool any audience members still not on board the Alex is the Iguana theory, or to fool Charlie herself, who would feel the need to protect her silly friend. It works for the iguana, who wears a violently pink hat
after stabbing a stranger in the toilet,
only for the stranger to spot her more easily at the diner.
Clandestine choice.
And it sets up the delicious cliffhanger scene. It's not just a random cliff, that appeared out of nowhere. It's the Grand Canyon we've been hearing about throughout the episode. I love it. And I think that's it for me. I've overanalyzed this enough. I thought the show was a funny, well-crafted piece of entertainment that managed to inspire pathos in the midst of some absolute silliness. I was thoroughly entertained. I guess the moral of the story is, be wary of random acts of kindness and don't trust people that tell you the truth.
What? Wait!
If you enjoyed this, please consider liking or subscribing. As always, thank you for watching.